If you've been here watching the cake series that I started on the live, well, there's a disappointing update. So come along to the kitchen and I'll be telling you all about it. So we're in the kitchen now, and if you don't know what I am talking about, I'll bring you up to speed on this subject matter. I started a cake series where I undertook a series of bakes, and I did say in the series as it developed that the intention for starting the series was simply because I had a wedding cake couple who, as part of their cake tasting and wedding consultation, tasted the original recipe of a series of cakes that were served to them. When that happens, there is feedback and discussions concerning their preferences, after which I'll take that information and hopefully tailor it into their cake. Now, because they preferred that the option that they were served is adapted slightly to a lightly textured crumb. Now, I had a lengthy discussion with them about the subject of cakes and crumb integrity and all that there is to know about it. But I was also open-minded to knowing that, as with food, people's preferences change and people's preferences are different. So I welcome the intention to undertake the project of adapting the recipes so that they could taste and see what they felt like. Normally, with consulting customers when they come through the door, the intention for me primarily is not to sell them a cake that they don't need. The intention is to engage in conversations to understand their peculiar preferences and see if I'm the appropriate person to assist them with their need. And I've almost always kept that intention with open mind and hoped to serve my customers with integrity. As a result, when I undertook the process of wanting to adapt their cake, I thought it would be an exciting project to invite all of you who is watching now, into my kitchen with me, discuss my intention for undertaking the series so that we can all learn from it. It was actually a learning project for me as well. So it has grown a lot, that particular series. I will link it in the description box. But if you want to see more on it, you check the homepage live videos. It's actually a very interactive session and I have come to love the live sessions. Something I didn't really know I was going to enjoy that much. Anyway, having said that, we adapted the original recipe from, I think, using a mixture of flour and adapting the ingredients. Mostly, I focused on ingredients that will enhance my goal, which is to develop a lightly textured crumb. There are so many layers to it, but I will explain the simplistic idea of the process. The process was to ensure that the crumb that the couple wanted was lightly textured for them, but I also didn't want to compromise the crumb integrity for structure, because when you're building a cake, from the process of baking, you want to understand your own objective for undertaking the project. And for me, it was really key and important that the cake is stable, as in it's built in a stabilized manner so that when it's stacked, it is well structured to sustain even in adverse weather conditions. I explained this to the couple. Having said that, I also understood that I could have undertaken a different sort of process to achieve my goal, or resorted to a different type of sponge. There are so many sponges on the market, and there are different ones that people can choose from. For instance, for the texture that they were looking for, I could have opted for a Genoese sponge. A Genoese sponge is lightly textured, absorbs flavor very well. However, it is so light that it doesn't hold itself. I've discussed this in detail in the live sessions, so you want to check those videos out. There's a ton of information to learn from, and I am really happy I undertook the project. Well, having gone through the process of adapting the recipes, I offered the couple two options, which is a cake that is made with a mixture of, I think, cake flour and McDougall's flour. And well, I'll leave that information in the description box about what exactly they ended up tasting. But the series developed and there were other questions coming through. Other people were having questions about the accessibility of cake flour in baking, especially in the UK, where cake flour is inaccessible. But actually, it's not so much that cake flour is inaccessible. Bleached cake flour is banned in the UK. So if you choose to bake with cake flour in the UK, you want to settle for unbleached cake flour, which results in slightly different result for you if you're baking with that. Because without getting too technical with the subject of flour and cake flour, I'll come back and do a different video on that if you want to know. And if you do, leave a comment in the comment section, or like this video and vote on the subject, and I'll come back and talk about flour a lot. So having adapted the recipes and given the couple the option, this evening, just within the last hour, I've only just had enough time to get myself ready so that I don't show up here like a slob. I literally just got a message from the bride saying that the entire texture of the cakes that were presented to them, even from the beginning, was not what they would have liked anyway. It was an incredibly difficult decision to come to because they felt very safe. They were happy with the interaction they had with me. However, it is because they didn't like the texture of their cake and they have opted to seek other options, which means I will not be their preferred cake maker. Now, that may seem disappointing, but not exactly. I would say the immediate feeling is like, okay, it's disappointing, especially having undertaken all that work. But that is not what I'm feeling. That was just a thought that crossed my mind. I was able to communicate with integrity, welcoming their intention. I will post a clip of the message exchange somewhere here for you to see. In my heart, I was genuinely proud of how I had dealt with them, giving them an open choice to discuss their preferences. And whilst I also immediately understood that it may not have been easy for them to communicate their intention, it was okay for them to seek other options. I find that as a cake maker, as I've grown in my business and my skill and knowledge, I have also come to accept that customers are not always generally aware of the options that are on the market for them. You'll find a customer who may come to you and may prefer a certain kind of cake, only to find out that their intentions about what cake they want and even the prices that are associated with the cake they want is almost like opposite. This is not the case. This is a case of genuinely a customer preferring something else over what is available to them, and that is okay. This also leads to how, as businesses or as a business owner, I am able to process someone asserting their intention for something else, respecting that option that they make about their decision without internalizing that as rejection. Because having undertaken all that work, you will think, what does that come to? Well, the most important thing to note is that the work undertaken didn't go to waste for me, because through the process, I learned a lot. Even offering to tailor the recipes has led me to developing a new series, which has been very engaging. And the process has led me to building this channel with a viewership who appreciate what I do. Had I not been presented with that opportunity and been open to it, maybe the choice of starting a whole live series would never have happened. So for me, that is a win. Also, on the back of starting the live series has meant that I have learned a lot. So I always use my customers as an opportunity to learn something new, which will in turn go back into the business. So generally, I don't feel as though I have lost anything at all. In fact, when this bride contacted me, she was super chilled and so laid back that my intention was that she's my ideal bride. And until a client signs on the dotted line, there's never a conclusive intention that they want a cake. Sometimes they want to see what's on the market. And you should be in a better position to be able to inspire their confidence by providing them useful information and guidance to lead them to the cake they want. And that also means, especially in this incident, you may not be the preferred person they settle for, but it's not the case that they do not want you. It's just that the differences in preferences, and especially food, is so subjective that you have to be open to the intention that even with all the best reviews, you should be open to knowing that it may not in its entire form it be enough for another person, and that is okay. This evening, I was actually looking and observing and making notes for the cakes that we bake through the series, and I'm hoping I can do a good write-up about my observations in the community post. One is already scheduled for, I think, same time as you're watching this video. So if you check the community post, you will see a post about the use of cake flour, I believe. So you should check that out for more information. I did also think to myself, in the moment where I received the message, I wanted to just let it go. But I also thought, in light of honesty, and also because you have been part of the process, it was important to come and have a chat. So it is very disappointing, but my immediate feeling is not stuck in disappointment. My immediate feeling is that, look, I was able to deliver. I was able to do my job right. And in fact, their feedback was that the information for them to choose to decide on going with somebody else was incredibly difficult for them. And I could tell, because during my post feedback consultation with them, I invited the bride and she kept making a few excuses. So it was like, okay, I'll let her be until she felt at peace to come to me. And then when she did come to me, it was almost like when someone just has to say something to you in discomfort. So I looked at it, I saw their point of view, and I was incredibly empathetic by acknowledging that their decision, I felt as though would have been difficult for them to communicate to me, because the difficulty is not so much that they liked me because of my cakes or anything. The difficulty was because we worked together well. The bride was amazing. She was very laid back and she trusted my guidance. I like the fact that she trusted my guidance and was always open to the suggestions I made. So we had built a certain level of rapport and trust, which would have made it incredibly difficult for them to opt to not go with me. So in order to make that decision one that is peaceful for both of us, I acknowledged the decision whilst also giving them room to know that it was okay, because I certainly don't want to be the cake maker who makes a cake for somebody for their wedding day and they do not really appreciate it and they would have wanted something else. A wedding cake is such an incredibly big thing for anyone to undertake, and I want to be able to work with a client who genuinely likes the cake. But as with food, to be successful, you have to be open to the intention that, look, customers will not always like the thing that everybody is raving about. It happens everywhere. How many times has someone invited you for a burger that they're raving about and you eat the burger and you're like, maybe not, I could have tried something else. Food is really subjective when it comes to taste, preferences, and all other things that influences and affects it. I have stood in this kitchen and done the live, and it's such, it's sort of an anticlimax in a way, but also nice that I am able to update you about what has happened. So if you see me for the first time, hello, my name is Gladys. I am a baker and cake artist, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. When I can, I also create baking tutorials live where we undertake a bake, identify an objective, solve a problem, so that you are presented with useful, informative, achievable information that will help you undertake your own baking at home with all the confidence you need. If you haven't joined the community here, what are you doing? we are growing. So thank you. We are pushing 5K. So if you see my video for the first time, do hit the like button, share it with a baker. And the thing I hope you take from watching this video is, if you are a cake maker, you're starting and customers are turning you down, learn not to internalize it. When you go shopping, you walk through the shops, you change your mind about one thing, you even buy something and return it. So develop the attitude that you will give your best with integrity, whilst also accepting that people have the choice to refuse an option even when it is granted in their interest.